The first time I realised I was non-binary.
Probably about 2-3 years ago.
It's a bit of a complicated thing to realise because often you have feelings of realisations before you have the language to express.
My ex, whose girlfriend at the time, mentioned like non-binary, gender fluid, and like just that idea. I started like researching, and it felt like it was little pieces of a puzzle, and I could kind of look back to feelings that I'd felt in the past, and I just knew that it was a label that I identified with.
When it comes to Hinduism, a lot of the characters I related to were this like composite of opposites essentially, and to me I related a lot to that. There was no reason to abandon femininity when I wanted to highlight some masculinity. There was no like strength or weakness, it was just two different types of strength.
I had that moment of online kind of social media finding this word and being like, oh okay, what's this? Let's look at this. And then kind of that moment of like, oh okay, that feels good, let's rock with that.
You learn that you're not weird, and you learn that there is some language to explain what you feel.
Yeah, for me it was very much tied up with finding out I was autistic, which I learned in the last like 4 years.
I went to an all-girls school, and yeah, it just kind of made sense to me that actually that wasn't really where I should have been.
So like when I was growing up, I always described myself as a tomboy because there wasn't a word for like not a boy and not a girl, and like whenever someone would call me a girl or a woman, I'd be like, not upset, but like, that doesn't, like it didn't register, and I felt confused why they would call me that.
It was weird because I came out as FTM, transgender first, and it wasn't until I got really comfortable with myself, like on testosterone, and more comfortable expressing things that I didn't see as masculine on me. And it was through that self-expression and that exploration of what gender really means, and having that comfortability to do that, that I was like, hey, maybe I'm not 100% a man.
Love that.
And when I moved to London and I surrounded myself with all my LGBT family, and then I was able to kind of be free to experiment more and more and more, I started to realise that the feelings I had back when I saw Pete Burns stuff on TV and stuff like that was kind of connected, and realised actually maybe I don't just identify as male, and I don't have to just because I have a more masculine looking face, like, or whatever.
The first time I experienced transphobia / anti-non-binary attitudes.
So many problems.
Any negativity I have is when I'm kind of introducing myself, say the pronouns, and people find it to be very difficult to use they, them pronouns, or often what I do actually say is just use my name, just don't use female pronouns, and people find that to be very difficult.
Coming out to my parents, it was like just absolute ignorance.
And I had a lot of people saying to me that my identity isn't real, and my identity is kind of like I'm making up for attention. And over time, people have gotten used to me calling myself non-binary and stuff, and saying, I don't identify as male. And it's sort of got better now. But like when I first came out, I think it was the initial kind of, okay, we weren't expecting that because you've identified as a gay man for such a long time.
Especially within the Asian community, it's been a bit more difficult for me because a lot of people don't like that a lot of my gender expression and the way I choose to identify comes from Hinduism and how I relate to my culture. But the people who get angry at it get angry because they only have surface level knowledge of what they think Hinduism is.
Kind of a lot of just like jeering and shouting and kind of uncomfortableness, which is kind of, you could describe it as a microaggression, because it's not really seen as like an attack. So like if I went to the police and I was like, oh, someone was laughing at me on the street, it's nothing, but it actually is
It takes a big toll.
Yeah.
It really chips away at you. The more it happens, these tiny little things, and sometimes you're not even sure if it's about you. Like a group of people walk past or like stare at you and laugh, and you're like, is that at me?
Yeah, and you kind of you can get quite paranoid.
So the first time I experienced gender euphoria.
Is that like if you're really happy with being a gender?
Oh.
Or like
that
not a
makes sense.
gender, yeah.
It's such a modern concept, and I love it.
I think that's been actually relatively recently. Like I've started working out quite a lot in the gym. You probably can't. You probably can't really tell, but I can tell. And yeah, like my shoulders are broader than they used to be, and I feel more kind of at ease with and who I'm kind of supposed to be, if that makes sense. So I'd say at the moment, yeah, just general euphoria.
I don't know if I could pinpoint a singular moment of gender euphoria, but I think just things like first growing a beard and like first realizing my facial hair was coming through, first time wearing nail polish post coming out as trans.
And that's the first time I'd ever worn a shirt with a binder and the blazer had fallen properly. And I was like, yes, pretty boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I went to Stonewall, and literally like just the second that I was inside, just like this really inclusive environment where like nothing was a burden and nothing was kind of shocking or new.
When I first came out, I guess this would be a slight dysphoria. I didn't think I could look masculine. I kind of pushed myself actually into wearing more makeup and looking more feminine as much as I could, just because I felt like I didn't fit in.
Yeah.
I think I experience gender euphoria whenever I'm with other non-binary and trans people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite recent as well.
Yeah.
So similar.
We're winning.